Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the AVPN Asia Policy Forum July webinar on Benefit Cooperation, Understanding the Role of Policy Makers and Stakeholders. So thank you very much for tuning in. It is now 3 p.m. and we will be starting. So my name is Clara Feng from the Asian Venture Philanthropy Network. AVPN is a unique funders network based in Singapore committed to building a vibrant and high-impact philanthropy and social investment community across Asia. A key pillar under AVPN, the Asia Policy Forum, or APF, is a convening platform for social economy advocates offering practical learning opportunities to support governments in Asia to build an enabling environment for the social economy. This is APF's inaugural webinar, and we have selected the topic of how policymakers and stakeholders are promoting legislation that supports the benefit cooperation movement. So before we begin with the webinar, I will hand over the presentation to Pat Sian Loh, Asia Policy Forum Director of AVPN, to give us a brief overview of the Asia Policy Forum.
Thank you very much, Clara, and good afternoon again to everyone. We'll just take a few minutes to give you a brief update and introduce what the Asia Policy Forum is offering to the stakeholders stakeholders of AVPN. So the Asia Policy Forum is AVPN's outreach to the government stakeholders and persons in a policy making and policy advisory role. Our mission is to catalyze more effective public policies that support the Asia social economy through the sharing of best practices, research, and multi-sector collaboration. The collaboration would mobilize not only policymakers and policy advisors, but also other stakeholders within AVPN's membership, including venture philanthropists, impact investors, social entrepreneurs, and other key players who have a vested interest in the policy environment that can support the social economy. In the Asia Policy Forum, we will be convening events that will help to build a community of advocates in policy roles in other sectors, offer practical learning opportunities, tools, and other resources, and also aim to mobilize cross-sector partners to action. Since the Asia Policy Forum began in 2014, we've been very happily supported by committed partners like the BMW Foundation, British Council, and most recently Credit Suisse, as well as UNSCAP, with the Asia Policy Forum Bangkok convening in 2017. I will just quickly introduce some of our thought processes and rationale behind how AVPN is approaching the policy environment around the social economy. Our view is that through building a community of like-minded and committed policy partners, building their capacity through learning opportunities, resources, and tools like today's webinar, and also proactively supporting each other in the social economy ecosystem to greater impact, we can further leverage AVPN's unique cross-sector stakeholder networks to enable the growth of social economy. AVPN's cross-sector stakeholder network will include policymakers and related individuals and organizations that will partner up with venture philanthropists, impact investors, social purpose organizations, and other multinationals to create greater impact through the mobilization of knowledge and tools, funds, and networks. Specifically, what the Asia Policy Forum offers throughout the calendar year will be three kinds of activities, where we will support the building of the community of committed and like-minded policymakers and policy advisors. We will have an annual meeting of policymakers alongside the AVPN's annual conference. This year it was held in Bangkok earlier in June, and we do have a conference report that will be coming out shortly, but we do invite you to go onto the AVPN website to read a blog summary of the proceedings for the event. We also will conduct local roundtables to have a more contextual and localized discussion about the policy environment surrounding the social economy of any particular country. The capacity building tools that we would offer will include a policymaker toolkit that we will be launching in different phases over the next 6 to 12 months, as well as resources that are made available online for Asia Policy Forum stakeholders on the AVPN website. Webinars and work groups on specific topics like we are offering today will also be rolled out around topics that are of specific interest to the Asia Policy Forum stakeholders. and we will also be aiming to represent the view of the social economy policy from Asia on a global, regional and global stage. We'd like to show with this slide and the one after that some of our thinking around the policy environment and how it interacts with the social economy. The Asia Policy Forum looks at 4 perspectives when it comes to how policy, environment, and the social economy will interact. Firstly, we look at the role that policy plays in the social economy. Secondly, we look at the kinds of stakeholders that will be engaged in the co-creation and collaboration of delivery of policy. Thirdly, we look at the way that policymakers approach the design and implementation of initiatives and programs that will affect the social economy. And lastly, we look at how policy can impact very critical parts of the social economy. Specifically, with respect to the impact areas that policy can have on the social economy, we've also identified 5 areas that policy can create a difference. They are in the areas of forming leadership and alliances that drive social economy forward. They can also influence how capacity is built in the ecosystem that supports the growth of social investment, social enterprises, and other forms of social businesses. They can also play a very key role in mobilizing capital that will build up the social economy ecosystem. They form a very significant force behind building markets that will create greater revenue opportunities for social organizations. And last but not least, but also most commonly seen, they are key to legislation that will impact the growth of the social economy. So we welcome you to continue to explore more of what APF can offer. And today's discussion will be particularly focused on the legislation part of the impact area that we see policy being able to influence in the social economy. Last but not least, we'd also like to encourage you to look at AVPN's next major activity, which is the AVPN India Summit, which will be coming on the 14th of September, being held in Mumbai. This will be AVPN's inaugural initiative to bring together social investors, venture philanthropists, social purpose organizations, and policymakers who have a view towards investing for impact in education in India. We also welcome any parties or research partners who may be interested to join us as a collaborator in further informing our work in policy environment around the social economy and potentially explore being a case study partner with us. Thank you very much for your attention. We now welcome our panelists and speakers to begin making their remarks after Clara makes an introduction.
Okay, thank you, Patien, for the overview. So we are very pleased today to have an excellent lineup of speakers. Representing our AVPN member, Asia Pacific B Corporation Association, is Mr. Corey Lian, who is the Vice Chairperson and Co-founder, who will give us an overview of benefit corporations and B Corp. And next, we also have the honor of having Minister Audrey Tang, Taiwan's digital minister, to provide recorded introductory remarks on the upcoming proposed legislation in Taiwan related to benefit corporation. And finally, wrapping up, we will have Professor Wai Fang from the Department of Law of Chinese Culture University, Taiwan, to walk us through the background and the proposed benefit corporation legislation. But before we begin, a few housekeeping instructions. We will not take any questions during the presentation, but will open up the floor for Q&A after the presentation. Please feel free to use the console to type in your questions during the webinar, and I will raise the questions to our speaker after his presentation. If you have any further questions that are not answered by the end of the webinar, you can email us at policy@avpn.asia. So next up, we have Corey Lian, who is with the Asia B Corp Association. So Corey, I will now hand over the mic to you, and as well.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Hello, hi Corey. Could you test the mouse? Does it work for you?
Give me 1 second, please.
All right.
Okay.
Great, Corey. I think it's working. All right. So over to you.
Okay. Let me give it another try before I begin. Okay. Okay, good. All right, so it's working, everyone. So good morning. It's a great pleasure to share with you on the development of benefit corporation around the world. I'm calling from Toronto right now. I'm here attending the APAC Business Advisory Council, and it's very exciting that seeing the interest of countries in the APAC region, as well as interest in different regions in Asia. And so I'll begin just a quick highlight on the definition of certified B corporation and benefit corporation, which is a question that majority of you asked before the forum today. So certified corporation is a certificate that conferred by nonprofit B Labs and its global partners around the world. And it's a higher level of social and environmental performance that's measured. So the company has to pass this type of a measurement before it becomes a certified B Corp. A benefit corporation is it's a corporation not authorized by law, and it has a purpose, higher level of purpose, duty, and transparency. So it is a legislation that's passed within the country itself. So let me begin by how to the process of how to become a certified B Corp. So step one is that it has to pass the performance requirement and complete the B impact assessment. So B impact assessment consists of measuring community, environment, governance, governance, customers, and employees. So it's within this 5 parameter that a company needs to go through this process, and it's a total score of 200 points. And when a company passes 80 points, it's qualified to become a B Corp. And also the second part is that it has to meet the legal requirements, and this actually differs from countries to country. So B Corps around the world will have to decide or wait for the proper legal structure that could be implemented in their own country. And lastly, the B Corp signs a Declaration of Interdependence, which is the most critical part of becoming a B corporation, that under this principle and philosophy that we are all connected and we are all here to support this movement. Okay, sorry, just jump a page. Okay, so the legal requirement for B Corp, it's about purpose and value, and it gives protection and permission to consider non-financial stakeholders such as community, employees, suppliers, environment, and with the latest version, including customers. And it's a way to ensure that this long-term vision that the company has can survive over time. And let me get to the topic of benefit corporations. So it's basically the new evolution of capitalism, from capitalism to the shareholder capitalist to a stakeholder capitalist. So there's a couple parts on the benefit corporations. So first is the purpose of business entity rather than just maximizing the financial profitability of the company. And if the purpose of the business entity, including adding sustainability or pursuing a broader purpose, than just financial profit. How do we broaden this purpose within the organization, the duty of the organization? And how can the performance of a business entity to pursue a broader purpose to be measured and reinforced? So I like to compare the three elements that is consistent between B corporations, certified B Corp, and benefit corporations. So on the purpose level, the certified B Corps, the legal requirement defines the purpose of the certified B Corp to have a positive social and environmental impact. But for the situation of benefit corporation is that the company has to have the material positive impact on society and environment taken as a whole, and from the business and operation of the corporations. But it does not necessarily adopt a particular mission, such as solving poverty or fighting climate change. The second element is duty. So under the certified B Corp, the duty of the persons responsible is that it's to consider the interests of financial stakeholders. But in the case of benefit corporations, its interest is about considering the corporation's all stakeholders. In terms of transparency, certified B Corp utilize the B impact assessment to disclose its status, and then the benefit corporation utilize a report every year annually to describe its current development. So in summary, benefit corporations are triple bottom line business that focus on profit, planet, and people. So the current status of benefit corporation right now, it's already being authorized in United States and Italy. And there's 32 states has already passed the benefit corporation status since 2010. And right now, at this latest point, there's 4,000 benefit corporation adopted within US. And if we look at to provide perspective right now in the US, that's about 800 to 900 B corporations. And currently there's 6 regions that has drafted the legislation for B Corps. So such as Argentina, Australia, Chile, Colombia, Taiwan, and UK. And there are 5 other regions that's being this legislation has been discussing. And now I'm in Canada right now, and there's already a further step with Canadian government at this point. And GA also recommended that profit with purpose business to be included and recommended in the GA report, and it recommend a few elements which is consistent with the benefit corporation's philosophy, which is one, the social impact purpose are provided on recommendation 7, and duty of the director and officer are consists with the social impact purpose as provided on recommendation number 8, and the transparency of the general and social environment impact of the business is putting in recommendation number 9. So in summary, the B Corp, the benefit corporation legislation, it's a triple bottom line purpose business and duty to non-financial stakeholders. And then the third piece is the transparency of the triple bottom line performance. Okay, and lastly, I'd like to use this this moment to share with you that there's going to be a second annual B Corp forum in Taichung, Taiwan. It's gonna be on August 31st to September 1st, and this is the one of its kind forum that consists of the what we call 6 elements of building up this ecosystem within a region. So I'd like to introduce you what the 6 elements are in this B Corp ecosystem. And first is the micro and small medium business. That's a critical part in the Asia economies. And the second piece would be talking about how large companies and public companies are adopting this B Corp and operation and their philosophy and logics behind it. And the third piece is consists of the finance, so the stock exchange, impact investments, and how this will enhance this ecosystem. The fourth piece is on the government's perspective, central governments and municipal government, the ways, the things that how a government can engage into and help promote to drive this B Corp movement as a whole. And then the fifth piece is media. So it's an opportunity for you to hear why media is supporting this type of movement. And last element is academia. So how do we implement this kind of mindsets and share this type of mindset in the new working forces coming into the business environments? So in this process will also include how to define these elements that's important in your particular economy and how to prioritize that, and then how to connect with other partners around the world and in Asia on these different elements, so that it can assist you on how to build up your own ecosystem within your country. So I'd like to use this time to welcome you on August 31st to Taichung, Taiwan. And we're expecting around 500 companies that will be joining the conference, and 25 countries around the world. Okay, thank you. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you, questions you have, and all right, cheers. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you, Corey. All right, so what we'll do next is Corey will stay in the background, and as we mentioned at the beginning, if you have any questions for Corey, you can address it to him by typing it into the console, and we'll direct it to both Corey and Professor Fang. But next up, we have introductory remarks by Minister Audrey Tang, and I'll play them on the.
This is Audrey Tang, Taiwan's Digital Minister. I'm very happy to be here with you virtually to share with you some thoughts around the legalization of benefit corporation. Back in
Oh, hello. I'm very sorry. I think we're having some technical difficulties. So what I will do is I will toggle to another recording that we have with subtitles.
You virtually to share with you some thoughts around the legalization of benefit corporation. Back in 2014, the administration at the time started the Year of Social Enterprise. At the time, it was a broad dialogue with the academia, with the voluntary sector, with the private sector, exactly how should we further each other's social innovation and social missions. So at the time, the administration did not put any particular legal strategy into the action plan. Rather, it was to look at the regulations at the time and work out how exactly can the government respond to the actual social needs. It was really successful, and the result was a great diversity around all forms as well as sectors in Taiwan that embraced the social enterprise mission. Now, at the end of 2014, at the time I was working with the administration as an independent consultant on the V-Taiwan platform. On the platform, at the time we started discussion also on the company law, but around the startup form called closely held corporations. The idea is that startup people would like to retain control of their stock, not diluted by further investors. So yeah, we worked out that law in a way that involved as many stakeholders as possible in a series of online and offline meetings after 3 months, and was sent to the parliament, and it was passed unanimously. So the V-Taiwan system, the main idea is that instead of proposing one particular draft of a bill, we have many different parties and proposing their different versions of a vision and come to a rough consensus and compare each other's visions. So we also did the same with ride sharing with Uber that was passed last year, and Uber is now playing by the rules co-created by the stakeholders, including drivers and passengers. So starting late last year, we started the same process in Taiwan on the company law's relationship with social enterprises. At the time, people would assert that there are many different forms, such as co-ops, such as NPOs, in addition to companies. So they would not want to be adversely impacted should we pass the benefit corporation structure. And I would like to thank Dr. Richard Fung for introducing the broad concept as well as explaining very carefully and publicly the difference between the constituency clauses, between the CSR clauses, as well as the benefit corporation framework. The dialogue is still ongoing. Starting next week, the Ministry of Economic Affairs has designed a set of interactive survey that I will bring with me to Taipei, as well as to southern Taiwan, to middle Taiwan, and to the eastern Taiwan, to make sure that all the stakeholders, even if they don't have an internet connection, it becomes aware of this dialogue that we're having. And I would like the final version to incorporate as many input as possible for the people practicing and consider to practicing social innovation. So without further ado, enjoy the webinar, and thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you very much. So next up we have Professor Richard Fung. I will hand over the dashboard to him, so please bear with me. Okay, so Professor Fung, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Good afternoon, everyone.
All right, great. So does the mouse work for you?
Can you try? Yes, I think it works.
Okay, great.
Okay. Okay, dear all, I'm pleased to share with you our study on legal recognitions for the benefit corporation in Taiwan. Before I start, I would like to give you the essential points of my presentation. The main reason to adopt benefit corporation chapter in Taiwan is to achieve the long-term goals of developing inclusive economic growth. By adopting the benefit corporation chapter that meets the needs of Taiwan society, we want to establish a sound ecosystem for developing the social economy, encouraging people using the business method to solve social or environmental problems. My presentation will be preceded by 5 parts. The first part is why we want to promote the benefit corporation legislation in Taiwan now. The second part is the history of the benefit corporation legislation in Taiwan. The third part is the obstacles during the consultation and drafting process. The fourth part is the long-term goals of the Benefit Corporation Act. The fifth part is the structure of Taiwan's Benefit Corporation chapter and its comparison with model benefit corporation legislation Corey mentioned earlier. And the last part is my conclusion, in which I would like to provide the suggestion for the development of Taiwan's Benefit Corporation Act in the future. Okay, first of all, I would like to use the key findings of steering committee's reports on the issue of social enterprise to explain why we want to promote benefit corporation legislation in Taiwan. The Steering Committee of Company Act Reform was initiated by several devoted scholars who want to revamp Taiwan's Company Acts to keep up with continuous evolving global economy. With the support with Taiwan's president, the steering committee was set up last year in February with more than 70 voluntary participants from multiple industries, government, and university to study each relevant topics extensively and propose amendments to Taiwan's Company Act. The development of companies' ties social enterprise is one of the main topics. The steering committee reports on the issue of social enterprise pointed out that there are 2 critical problems of current Company Act in Taiwan, and that seriously undermine the development of companies type social enterprise. Firstly, because Article 1 of Company Act limits the purpose of a company to for-profit purpose only, and Article 23 generally connects the direct fiduciary duty with shareholders' interest only. This creates the substantial risk and barriers for the company with a social mission purpose. Secondly, the design of current Company Act as all is for the big manufacturer and for-profit company. It does not fit the needs of company with social mission purpose or the company type social enterprise. Therefore, in order to deal with above problems of Company Acts on the issue of social enterprise, the committee suggests that Article 1 and 23 should be amended to allow the company to pursue social mission purpose at the same time, and the Benefit Corporation chapter should also be added in Taiwan's Company Act. Next, I would like to provide you the summary of the important events during the Benefit Corporation legislation process in Taiwan. As I mentioned before, the legislation process started on February 1st, 2016, when the steering committee formed the special task group on the issue of social enterprise. Since that, in addition to academic research study, we also contact different interest groups, including head of government agent, Minister Tang, and the staff from the Department of Commerce, patient investor like B Current Impact Investment Inc., Ray Chen, Stephen Young, and self-regulated organizations like Taiwan's no-profit self-regulation alliance, small and middle-sized company owners like Ping Ju, companies type social enterprise owners Representatives from NPO, legislators like Karen Yu from the DDP party and Jason Xu from the KMT parties. Opinion leaders like former Deputy Minister Feng Yan, Asia Pacific B Corp Association like Corey, foreign experts like Esquire William Clark Jr., and KPMG, and etc. So on July 1st, KMT party's legislators invited us and hold the first official public hearing on the future development of company types of social enterprise. On November 2016, the steering committee published official reports and suggests that the government to adopt the profit with a purpose, as known as the benefit corporation chapter. On December 28, last year, KMT party's legislator formally introduced the benefit corporation bill into legislative yuan. This version was mainly based on the Delaware's Public Benefit Corporation Act. On February 6 this year, the second workshop on the benefit corporation chapter was held by the DDP party's legislator, Karen Yu. The first one was held by December 12th last year. In those workshops, we directly communicate with representatives of NPO and opponents and responded to their questions or concerns. On March 2 this year, the first V Taiwan conference, the amendment of company law to adopt the profits with purpose, as known as the benefit corporation chapter, was held by the Minister Tang. And the pre-conference discussion has been started on the V Taiwan website since December last year. The conclusion of the conference is moving toward the direction of adopting benefit corporation chapter and to have the second V Taiwan conference to discuss the contents of the chapter. Then on April this year, based on the discussion of the first V Taiwan conference, we submit the draft of the benefit corporation chapter to the Minister Tang. Now, Minister Tang just stated she is trying to reach more potential interest groups and collecting more opinions from the public. So we will work closely with her to prepare the second V Taiwan conference on the adoption of the benefit corporation chapter. Okay, and next I would like to talk about the obstacles that we had encountered during the consultation and drafting process. As you can see from this slide, the common concerns and questions raised by the opponents are as follows. What are the differences between corporate social responsibility and corporation with social mission purpose? Still, many people did not understand it, what their difference is. And even many lawyers ask us these kinds of questions. And next is whether the benefit corporation will create the threat to other forms of social enterprise, like no-profit organization. And they also mention about the anchoring effect. So even we provide the same explanation as William Clark Jr. suggested and told NPO that benefit corporation is not the competitors. Some of the NPO still think that benefit corporation will become the priority choice for the people who want to run the social enterprise or for the investors. And that will create the threat to them. And next is whether the benefit corporation will receive the financial support from the government. For example, tax deduction or governmental funding. And if not, what is the benefit to become the benefit corporation? Especially the newly startup social enterprise, they want the financial support from the government. And whether it is the right time to introduce the benefit corporation legislation into Taiwan, as the market of the social enterprise is not well developed in Taiwan. And our response to this is the threat of the greenwash is real. We need to draw the line between the for-profit company and the company with social mission purpose. The disclosure requirement under the benefit corporation chapter, in fact, can protect the dilution of the value of the social enterprise. We observe that if the owners run the company type social enterprise well, They generally think that is the right time to introduce the benefit corporation legislation in Taiwan because they need the protection of the law to attract patient investors, to increase the size of the company, and to give them identities for their consumer. And next is whether the disclosure requirement under the Benefit Corporation Act intend to favor particular certification institution. The people who raise this question is they confuse the third-party standard with the third-party certification. And also they have concern about the third-party standard are developed by the foreign institutions. And the next one is whether the administrative agent is capable to manage or supervise the benefit corporation. People think administrative agent is not very efficient in Taiwan. The funny thing is that even administrative agent itself does not want to manage or supervise the benefit corporation because their workloads may be increased and the potential administrative responsibility will increase too. And the rest is irrational or political concern, and we will not discuss in these parts. So next, I would like to explain our long-term goals of the benefit corporation legislation in Taiwan. As you can see from this chart, our long-term goal is to develop the inclusive economic growth in Taiwan. So the social impact investment to develop such economic growth is one of the best solutions for the challenges brought by the side effect of capitalism. It can help to find out the balances between efficiency and fair distribution. It also encourages people using business methods to solve social or environmental problems. Hence, having a suitable legal framework to foster a sound ecosystem to develop the impact investment is really matter in Taiwan. And the best approach, we believe, is an inclusive one rather than an exclusive one. On the left-hand side of the chart, the governmental support and control methods help to lead the development of social enterprise from the policy concerns. On the right-hand side of the chart, the requirement of publishing impact report for traditional for-profit companies encourage those companies to pursue the social impact. And on the middle side, the benefit corporation legislation gives legal status for the company with social mission purpose. And this is the market-driven methods that helps to reach the place where the governmental power cannot reach out. Okay, and next I would like to show you the structure of the benefit corporation chapter and how we draw it by using Minister Tang's e-rule making methods. As you can see from this chart, we divided the element of benefit corporation chapter into two parts. One is basic elements that is required. One is not basic elements and open for public to discuss. The benefit purpose, directors, accountability, and the disclosure report are the basic elements. As to the benefit purpose, it included having a material positive impact on society and the environmental benefits taken as a whole from the business and operation of the corporation. As to directors' accountability, they are required to consider the interests of all of the corporation stakeholders. As to the report, it has to describe how company has performed in its pursuit of its border or benefit purpose. The basic elements ensures that the benefit corporation are the triple bottom line business, focus on the people, planet, and profit. As we observe that there are some deviation among states benefit corporation act among United States. The reason to have this part that open for public to participate and to decide is not only as a way to form a suitable local law, but also is a way to gain a trust from interest stakeholders in the community in Taiwan. As to the name of the benefit corporation, we have no doubt issues be stated in the chapter purpose of the corporation, and only the benefit corporation can use the terms in its name. So the discussion is whether a benefit corporation can decide not to use the term into its name based on a traditional cultural, religious, or business concern. As the in or out mechanism, here we mean whether a for-profit corporation can transfer to the benefit corporation, or a benefit corporation can transfer back to a for-profit corporation. And what is the requirement for such transfer? For example, the requirement of a minimum shareholder vote. As an enforcement mechanism, here we mean the benefit enforcement proceeding. This is a very controversial issue in Taiwan, because many owners of company types of social enterprise they do not support this. As a benefit director or benefit officers, whether we should allow the benefit corporation to have this based on the company's own discretion. And as the disclosure report, the discussion is whether to have a more flexible standards for different developed stage benefit corporation. The concern is that one side does not fit it all. The early stage corporation, the benefit corporation, may not be able to afford the cost of intensive disclosure requirement, where the well-developed corporation should be able to do this. Okay, and finally, I would like to compare the current draft of Taiwan Benefit Corporation Chapter with the model benefit corporation legislation. As you can see from this chart, there are two major differences. The first one is the transparency part. Our draft provides annual or 2 years benefit reports based on the size and the capacity of the company. We also have statutory minimum standard or third-party standard available for the public to choose. The second one is the enforcement part. Our draft does not have a benefit enforcement proceeding. We may adopt it later after the Benefit Corporation Act has been enforced for a while and people feel more comfortable with it. And because the draft does not adopt the benefit enforcement proceeding, it does not adopt the right of action at this time. Okay, in summary, during the course of Taiwan's benefit corporation legislation movement, we found that in order to achieve our long-term goal to develop the inclusive economic growth in Taiwan, we need to invite all possible stakeholders into policy-making process. By doing this, we can build a trust with all stakeholders, and we'll be able to enact a Benefit Corporation Act that meets the needs and development of Taiwan, and form a transparent, fair, flexible, self-disciplined market for profit with purpose corporations. Thank you all for your listening, and this concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Professor Fang, and thank you, Corey. So we do have quite a few questions. So I think first up, we do have one question, which is, how should benefit corporations be integrated into the mainstream economy? What do you think should be done to encourage traditionally profit-driven enterprises to authentically meet the triple bottom line? And do you think legislation is sufficient to drive the market? So perhaps, Corey, would you be able to take the question from a more general perspective in terms of what is happening in the countries that have adopted similar legislation? And for Professor Fang, perhaps you can also address it specifically for Taiwan.
Okay, hello everyone. So I'll respond to the first question. How can this be integrated into the mainstream economy? I think having a benefit corporation legislation, I think it works on two parts. One is that it is a promotion mechanism. So it's a way when people are registering for a new company, they do know this type of company exists. So you see that in the case of the United States, that for company that pass or that obtain the Certified B Corp status, it's around 800 to 900 companies. But there's already 4,000 benefit corporation, which is called PBC in the United States. public benefit corporations. So in that way, that it promotes and let people understand that you can set up this type of company, and this is what that means when you operate your business. So I think in that perspective, it's a great way for this type of mindset gets introduced into a startup of a company. And the second question is it's actually relevant to the existing or traditional companies. And so how can this be done to encourage companies in the traditional companies in that sense? I think with a proper and a due proceeding that what Taiwan's going through right now, having a public conversation about it, I think it's, first of all, it's a way for people to share what they needs, to share their needs in the market to the company as well as to the governments. And so for a traditional company to understand that if they do choose to go to this direction, there is public support. And if they do choose to this direction, there are certain disclosure requirements to do this. And when they do aware that these type of there's a methodology, there's a way to disclose how to do it, and that, I think that's the way that to have the traditional company to meet the triple bottom line requirements. And lastly, is the legislation submission sufficient to drive the market? This is my personal point of view, that legislation will definitely help a lot in terms of driving this whole social purpose movement. In couple angle. One, it is a structure that's gonna be here for the long term. So it's not just a way for company to assess where they are, but this is a long-term commitment of the company, but as well as the government, to have this kind of economy, this kind of industries within its own economy. And the second part, having a legislation like this allows public to support companies to do that. So I think it's not the legislation alone that's sufficient, but legislation plays a critical part of the whole ecosystem, that the government is supporting this, the consumer is supporting this, the business choose to do this are in the direction of driving it, but as well as what I mentioned earlier about the Asia B Corp Forum, is that academia and financial sectors can also be part of it. And it's very important that to financial investors, that the company is not just here for short run, that they are committed in the long term to drive social and environmental benefit. So having a legislation like that in your country can promote your own impact investors and regular investors to support this. But at the same time, global investor is gonna look for countries that has this type of legislation, so that they feel that their investment would be one, protected, but at the same time will become consistent with the mission that they're mandated to invest in the company. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Professor Fang, do you have any thoughts on that question?
Okay. Okay. How should the benefit corporation be integrated into the mainstream economy? And I think it depends all stakeholders and participants of the market. And I think only the government alone cannot have this capacity to do this. It depends on the investors, and they should invest more on this kind of company, and also the consumer, they should understand what they buy is not just a product, but a product with good value corporations. And I think by form this kind of good circle, I mean the good ecosystem, then the benefit corporation will be able to integrate it into the mainstream economy. And the second question is, this is based on our in Taiwan's experience. Actually, we don't hope the old traditional profit-driven enterprise to become a triple bottom lines corporation. In fact, they can choose still traditional profit-driven, but they need to bear a CSR responsibility. But at the same time, we want to provide another choice for the people, or for the people who want to run a business, and they can choose the benefit corporation. So it's like we just want to provide more choice for everyone. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So we do have quite a lot of questions, I think more related to perhaps the technical aspects of certification of benefit corporation. So I think there are some questions in relation to how much does it cost, why do you need the certification? But I think inherent to some of these questions that have been posed is what is the cost benefit advantage of being certified versus not having a certification? So are there any clear definitive benefits of being certified? So perhaps Corey, would you be able to address these questions?
Okay. I think if we were talking about certification, will be a little different from benefit corporation legislation. So I think for I'll look at it more at the in the corporation's perspective, that when a company is certified, it is what I call operationalize its mission. So if a company claim that they have a social purpose, they want to drive this company to solve a social environmental problem, how do we know that? How can people within the company see that the company is really doing this? So with the certification process, that the employees within the company, the leaders and the management within the company can know how they are performing in relevant to a set of a global consensus standards. And the second of all is that this also sends a signal outside to its investors, to its customers, and then that supports this type of philosophy, and also to its potential future teammates and employees, partners. So it's a way for a company to align itself internally to its mission, but also at the same time aligns itself externally with other players in the market. And the second question is that the cost. I mean, so that would be the benefit to this. And in terms of cost, I think my observation with the B Corp certification, it's actually quite controllable, because it varies depending on the size of the company. So that provides a flexibility of a newly startup or a mature organization can participate in this. Nick, Clara, I'm not sure if I do cover all your questions. If you can check with the audience.
Oh, I think that's good. We actually have quite a lot of questions, so I'm also mindful of time. So perhaps I could start to direct some questions to Professor Fang as well. So I think there is a question on, like, what kind of suggestions can you give other policymakers who are trying to assess if their respective social enterprise market is mature enough for benefit corporation? So perhaps speaking from the experience of the Taiwan legislation perspective.
Okay. The first thing is I think we observe there are a lot of free rider problems because I think the people don't actually understand they are social enterprise in Taiwan, and actually they are doing the things that meet the criteria of social enterprise. But the problem is the reason we promote this Benefit Corporation Act is because we observe that there are a lot of traditional for-profit corporation, and they found that social enterprise is the new way to promote their business. They use it as public PR methods, and so I think this is in this stage we was concerned about this, and we think this is a time to introduce the Benefit Corporation Act because we want to draw the lines. So it's really hard to say that if the market is well developed enough, is grown enough to introduce the Benefit Corporation Act, because anytime we mention about this, there's all concern about still it's not the right time. But we think this is a good time because we want to protect the social enterprise from those for-profit company use the PR as a way to promote their products. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So we do have another few questions which are related more to the behavior of multinational companies. So I think one of the first questions is that what is the appetite for multinational companies operating in Asia to adopt B Corp certification, and also the fact that some companies are already practicing I get the principles of B corporations without actually being certified. So perhaps Corey, would you have any response to this?
Okay, I think there will be. I'll give an example that multinationals such as Denome. So I'd like to refer you after this this webinar to go to Denome's 2017 shareholder meeting minutes, and as well as the Consumer Goods Forum that the CEO of Denome, Emmanuel Faber, he shared about his point of view in terms of multinationals, its positions and how they are interacting with the general public. So Denome has announced a couple months ago at his shareholder meeting that 154 of its subsidiary will become a certified B Corp. And this is a way for Denome to be consistent with the custom values that they discover throughout this journey that consumer needs and is driving towards this direction. And so that it can use this process to really operationalize each of the companies to align on this mission. And the second part to this is that Denome likes to, I mean, it does discover that it is important to have this kind of leadership in the market so that we can really and fast and sufficiently to drive this change that we need in this world right now, the issues that we're seeing with climate change, with poverty, with these social problems. So it's very interesting to see a large company in that perspective are, one, taking leadership, second, are funneling down to its organization to drive these changes. So in the Asia Forum, we'll be inviting Denome, as well as there's a public listed company in Australia will come and share about its journey of as being a listed company to become a B Corp. And also there are examples of public listed companies in Taiwan, Obank, that is in the process of doing this. So the audience are able to capture how a multinational complex structure, how they do this, a single publicly listed company, what happened after they become a B Corp. and then a company that's in the process right now, how do they communicate within their board directors? How do they communicate internally, and how they go through that process? So that's kind of my general take in terms of the multinational and large companies. Thank you.
Great. We still have quite a number of questions, but I think this next two questions I will direct it to Professor Fang. So the first question is, have other parts of Taiwan legislation and government responded to the introduction of B Corp legislation? Are there any areas of alignment, leverages, or have there been challenges? So that's the first question. And the second question is, from a policy perspective, has Taiwan considered how the introduction of the benefit core legislation might alter the behavior of traditional companies in negative ways? The question also quotes a fellow academic who advises one of the governments who are considering benefit corporation has expressed concern that traditional companies will be more narrowly focused on profits, and it may actually cause some negative repercussions instead. So would it be more realistic to have these expectations raised via integrated reporting and perhaps GRI?
Okay. First I want to respond to the first question you just raised. Have there any other parts of efforts to promote the Benefit Corporation Act in Taiwan? And I think 2 years ago there's one, but it's not really the Benefit Corporation Act. It's more like the close to the I think it's more close to the UK style, like a community interest corporation. And on that type of the legislation, it focuses on the policy support and the policy control to the company. And so on this stage, we also have the legislator, the DDP legislator, Karen Yu, I just mentioned before. She just introduced this kind of legislation, but it's more like the Korean or the UK types, and it's focused on the using a strong like policy control and the limitation, and they need to have an asset lock and so on. So it's like it's a different kind of the legislation. So this is the current stage we have now, and also we will adopt the CSR requirement on the coming Company Act amendments. Okay, and to respond the second ones, I think the problem will becomes I think the issue is on the enforcement parts and the disclosure parts. And in the enforcement parts, we do mention about this, but they have a lot of concern that many people may not choose this form of the benefit corporation because they have a highly concern about the potential legal action against them. So we focus on the disclosure parts, and we think by using the disclosure, the market can extend those reports. So this is the good way to have the self-discipline. So this is the way we try to promote, but still is this in the very early stage in Taiwan. So the Benefit Company Act is not a closed end. As I discussed with the Minister Tong, it should be the open one, and it should be evolved along with the dynamic market. So we will see, and we will get more opinion to decide that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm mindful of time, so I think we just have one last question for both Corey and Professor Fang before we end the session. So the question is, in general, which do you think is more effective to promote social impact in businesses? Do you think it's through voluntary certification or more mandated reporting requirements?
I'll see if Professor Fang can tackle this first, and I'll need a couple minutes to think about it. Thank you.
Okay.
Professor Fang, would you like to go?
Okay. I think there's a big difference. I mean, as a mandated requirement, it's like the corporation take it as a responsibility. It is as required to do this. So it's more like a CSR. But if we use the cheaper bottom lines, we want the company, when they form a company, their purpose to form a company is for to have a good social impact. They will have a different, I mean, the force is different. One is voluntary, one is just as obligation or as duty. So we think, I mean, the voluntary one will last longer, and they will not change just because the mandate requirement of the disclosure. So that's why we propose the Benefit Corporation Act. They need to have a duty. They need to have a duty to respond, and they also have a require disclosure. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Fott. Give me a couple minutes to think about this. I think, in my perspective, I think both of them are voluntary. So it is a way for a government to signal to the market that this is the type of company, this is a type of behavior that we positively encourage within our economy. And I think that's an important message, that this is not just coming from civil society, not just coming from the business, not just coming from academia, but the government as well. So I think, first of all, that is a very important positive signal that this is the type of economy that we encourage company to adopt, and long term having this kind of momentum and driving within the economy. And then the second part, I think both of them are voluntary. So being certified by a third party to do this, it's a decision by a company that we want to head this direction, and we want ourselves to know that we are progressing as well as people outside. But at the same time, when a Benefit Corporation Act, it still acts the same way, that the company can choose to become one or not. And I think the power of choosing, the power of voluntary, which Professor Fong mentioned, is the most critical part, that it's the free will of the company, and this is a well thought, and this is from company's observation, both on financial benefit, but at the same time that they do know this is what society needs and what their customer needs, to make that decision to either become to adopt a Benefit Corporation status, to adopt a B Corp status. So like Professor Fong said, it'll last longer. I think you'll become the core and mission of the company. And so that, I think that's to me, both of them, it is voluntary, and it's not a limitation, but a way to free and a way for a company to choose, to a group of people within the organization to choose to head this direction. Thank you.
Wow. Okay, so on this note, we'd like to thank everyone for this very interesting session and discussion. So thank you very much, Corey and Professor Fang, and of course to Minister Audrey Tang for her introductory remarks. So we will be posting the webinar recording on our website by next week, so please look out for it. And also, as mentioned, AVPN is holding the AVPN India Summit 2017, which is focused on investing for impact in education on 14 September, and member registrations and early bird tickets are still available. So on this note, we'll be ending the webinar. So thank you very much again, and have a good day.